Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals and welcome to another StarCraft 2 England cast. Today guys, I have got game 1 of a best of 3 from the Go for SC2 Cup, and it is between the orange Zerg player in the top left, AcerBly, and in the lower right as the red Zerg, Starbuck. So it's going to be a ZvZ best of 3, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Bly correctly pointing out, only have fun, and to be fair, if I was up against Bly, I would only say have fun. Because Bly does not need luck versus anyone. Bly is awesome, of course. I mean, maybe if he was up against, say, I don't know, Flash or Startel Parting or someone like that, then maybe he needs a little bit of luck. But generally speaking, in a tournament like Go for SC2, he should be absolutely fine. So, what can we expect from these two? Well, Ahana is a really nice map for ZvZ in my opinion, just because you've got a relatively okay to defend ramp, and as a result, you can get away with going hatch first. Even though you know where your opponent is, the rush distance is quite long. It's not really an ideal map for going for, say, a speedling rush or anything like that, just due to the fact that this ramp area is quite narrow as well, so you can defend that quite nicely. It's got nice direct routes, which means you can spot everything very, very quickly, due to the fact that overlords can go straight down the attack route, etc. And it just makes it relatively simple to spot any kind of early aggressions that could be coming in. So, all in all, I'm reckoning a more economical focus build from both of these players, which we are seeing at the moment. They're both coming down here with their drones, so definitely going to see 15 hatch from both of these guys right now. And actually, all in all, they're paired up pretty similarly. That timing on the hatch was a couple of seconds apart, with Starbuck actually getting it down slightly quicker, which is of course good news for him, because when you are going for any build, the quicker you execute it, the better it is. It has a snowball effect all the way through the game, so good to see that all happening. Meanwhile, second overlords are coming down. Let's talk a little bit about overlord placement. Overlord 1 most likely going to come up here, spot the hatchery, then pull back to this kind of area. Overlord 2 will probably chill around somewhere here. Then you put Overlord 3 and 4 generally just around the map, just to make sure that you know all of the enemy's movements when they are moving. Now, Starbuck went for a slightly earlier gas so far, then into the pool. Meanwhile, we saw Bly just get both these slightly later, which means that, nope, I was going to say that means he should be a drone up, but he's not. So, clearly just delaying a little bit here, and as you can see, this is the knock-on effect you get, that both of these, it was about a 10-second delay there for Bly, so I'm not quite sure where his attention was or what's going on there, but basically it just shows the advantage of just tiny microscopical improvements in your build, and why the top level of play you have to really make sure that you're doing everything precisely and incredibly accurately. Now, the first hatcheries, or should I say the natural hatcheries, up for both players simultaneously. This is all good news for them, as it means that ultimately they're going to be able to produce more. The double queen starting up as well. The gas count is what I'm really going to be interested in. It's something that you should always scout for in a Zerg versus Zerg, is what they do with these drones when they're done with gas. Of course, we've got 3 harvesters in both of these at the moment, but Starbuck just started up speed, keeps 3. Meanwhile, we've got Bly side up speed and also keeps 3. You can see differences. You can see people pull 1 to 3 drones out of gas after they've started speed, depending on what kind of strategy they're going. Generally speaking, if they keep all 3 drones in there, they're either going to go for a lot of banelings, or banelings quite quickly, as we're seeing from Starbuck here, or they're going to tech up. If they pull the drones out, then generally speaking they're looking to squeeze out a couple more drones, a bit more mineral income, maybe take a faster third or get a lot of Zerglings. But all in all, the fact they're keeping drones and gas is just good news for them, basically. So yeah, Baning Nest down a lot earlier for Starbuck, roughly about 25 seconds sooner. So it's not massive. I imagine that there'll be defensive banelings. The reason for that is because both players went for the 15 hatchery. If you're going for an economical build, you get the banelings on a defensive purpose. Then it allows you to defend against big speedling pushes or anything like that. But if we look at the scouting information for both these players, there's not actually too much for either of them. Starbuck did scout out the spawning pool and extractor, also sees that the baneling nest was coming down, so he does actually have the advantage in terms of what he's got vision of and how he knows Bly is going to be playing. But both these players going very similar builds, both getting the spine crawler up defensively, which is a good move. Bly grabbing up all 4 gas now, so that is equally done by Starbuck. Oh, not by Starbuck, who's just going up to 3 gas, getting 2 of the natural though. So if the scout came in here from this overlord, for example, you may assume that it's going to be 4 gas as opposed to 3. A big speedling push is on its way up though, and there's very little in the way of defense right now. Actually, looking as what's in the way of defense, there's a grand total of pretty much nothing. That queen is going to take an awful lot of damage pretty quickly, but Starbuck being forced to pull back at at the time being, just to make sure that Spine Crawler doesn't get to do too much. But Banelings are now rolling in, and of course, Banelings are going to be very, very effective at dealing with Bly's Speedlings, and it could get pretty tough. The Queen is taking up quite a lot of the fire, but Banelings coming in as best they can, and big hits go off. A lot of drones get melted there. 8 drones get taken down. If we look at the loss tab, that was not too fun for Bly at all. He may have lost slightly less, or no, sorry, very fractionally more, but some of that was drones. Of course, 8 drones at this stage makes a big influence. 44 to 33, an 11 worker lead for Starbuck right now, who's going into his Rotoron. Meanwhile, if we look up here for Bly, we've not really got very much at all. He's still just sticking with getting a lot of drones because he's got to rebuild them, and now the Spire starts. So I was expecting to see that, so Spire coming down is very, very normal. But it does leave you slightly vulnerable to a big head-on engagement, because ultimately the Mutas will take a long time to get out, and if you don't have units to defend sooner, then a head-on push can really hurt. Even when the Mutas come out, you can run into some problems. That Baneling does get a couple of Zerglings. 3 for 1 is probably an okay engagement. One more Zergling coming up, trying to pick off some Banelings. You send one Zergling at a time to the Banelings, and you're pretty much going to be ace. Again, if you can pick them off a Baneling for a Zergling, you're in good times. But here we see the Overseer coming in and getting some good scouting information out. The important thing that hasn't been scouted, though, is by Starbuck, and that is that Spire. If he'd seen that, he would have been in a much better position. But Bly coming in with an awful lot of units right now. If we look up, there 18 Zerglings against the 2. This could do absolutely hideous amounts of damage. Straight away coming in, a handful of Roaches are popping out, though, just as we speak. But Roaches in low numbers do not engage well against Speedlings due to the fact that the Zerglings can get great surface area around them, and that can run into being a very, very large problem. Starbuck does have some defensive Banelings, though, and does manage to hold this off very, very well indeed. Looking at the work count, 52 to 43, still in Starbuck's favour, but Bly now getting out his first 6 Mutalisks. And judging from the scouting information, I mean, you can assume it's going to be 2 base muted just due to what you've seen. You've not seen a Roach one. But until you see that Spire, you cannot know for sure. But the Overseer is going to spot it out. But this is precisely what I'd want to do against a 2-base Mutaplay, and that is just send a whole ton of Roaches to my opponent's base, because Bly does not have many Spine Crawlers down, which he'd really need to defend this. The Hydra Cavern, or Hydra Den rather, is on its way down. It still wasn't scouted, but it is going to get spouted now, so there we go. But the Hydra Den already started, which is great, great news. But Zergling streaming in. The Roaches do have to bunch up. They'd be good if they could get against a wall just to reduce the surface area further of what those Zerglings can do. But of course the Roach numbers not quite high enough to deal with this many Mutalisks, and the Mutas are just going to start picking things off very, very quickly indeed. But looking here, we do have Hydras in production now for Starbuck. If he can get those out in time, if he can delay enough these Mutas, then he will be able to pick them off very comfortably with Hydras. It's just all about how much damage Bly can do. And all in all, this is 2 very different strategies for a ZvZ, and it's really fun to watch how it goes. But Bly moving in with an awful lot of units right now. The Queen's coming in, trying to get in a good position, trying to do a bit more. We've got some Spore Crawlers already down. The Hydras are now out. The Mutas are going to try and poke and prod. This 3rd base is going to go down. Does get cancelled rather, just in the nick of time, which is of course great news for Starbuck. Bly, of course, is still quite behind in the work account, which means the longer this game goes on, it should get better for Starbuck, who's still producing Roaches, still producing Hydras. Obviously, the Mutas do have the advantage, though, of having much better maneuverability, and that's going to allow him to really start poking, prodding, picking things off. As you can see, getting quite a few Overlords here, and that is exactly what he wants to be doing. He wants to be using the mobility of these Mutalisks to the max, because that is where Starbuck is slightly vulnerable in his maneuverability. And as you can see, a lot of Overlords are getting taken down right now. We've got a handful of Roaches here to defend the 3rd, but that means that it's potentially leaving the natural vulnerable to attacks rather. Roaches are chilling there, so maybe it'll be okay. We'll wait and see, but all in all, I think Starbuck is still holding this quite nicely. Bly does have his 3rd base up though already, but he's a long way behind in the work account, and he has been for a considerable amount of time, and as a result, that means that Starbuck is starting to take the supply advantage. The Hydras moving forward, the Roaches moving forward. Big numbers of Banelings though, my goodness, 19 Banelings morphing in, adding to the 2 already morphed takes us to 21 if my maths is right, and that of course means that this aggression could be huge. The Roaches there as well. And all in all, even though these Roaches and Hydras are 1-0, they're up against 0-0 Roaches and 0-0 Banelings. But with the Mutas, with just so many Banelings there, this could get really, really tough to deal with. The Infestation Pit is on its way for both players, going to be finished up a lot sooner for Starbuck. And all in all, if Starbuck can hold this, he's going to be in good shape. as long as he doesn't take too many losses. Now, looking up to the main base, there is so many overlords getting taken down at the moment. We do still have those roaches and banelings chilling there, but well, the Hydras have to be careful. They're going to be the real big vulnerability to the banelings, and if they do get connected, that's going to be huge problems. But in comes Starbuck straight away. He's trying to pull back, but no, the roaches block the retreat, and I think that's going to be it straight away there. And that is really unfortunate for Starbuck, but a great engagement for Bly, who should take the game. And Bly with the massive smiley face. These two obviously know each other, and yeah, with a massive advantage in terms of the army supply. There's the GG, and that was game 1. So if you did enjoy, guys, I will catch you at game 2 any second.